Hello everybody in the Great Perhaps. It is Friday, and this is not the video that I was expecting to make today, but in light of recent events, I feel like it's one that I need to make today. William, I did hear about Esther, and I'm happy you brought it up. I didn't know Esther personally, I had never talked to her, but I know how much of a huge impact she had on our community and what she had on the world, and I know what an amazing person she was, and I think it's really sad that we have a world without her in it any longer, but I know that in honor of her we will keep doing things and we will keep moving forward. For me personally, death is an interesting topic for me because I've never really had much experience with death, but in the instances I have, it's affected me greatly. I've only ever had one person really close to me die, and that was my friend Taren. She died on November 6th, 2008. And at the time, it affected me really badly. She was 18 years old, and she died in a car crash because of black ice. And at the time, I was in a creative writing class, and I was having writer's block and stuff, but that hit me so greatly that I ended up writing a story about her. And I've shared it with very few people because it is really close to my heart, and it's something that it's kind of weird to show people your weaknesses, so I thought I would share that with you guys today because I think that I want to share it with you guys, so I have it printed out here, and I'm sorry if I get emotional during this, but I'm going to read this to you guys. Dear Taren, I don't really know where to start. I actually don't know why I'm writing this at all. You'll never read this. You'll never be able to read this. Although if you could read this, I would have no reason to write it. What do you tell someone when they have a friend die? You can't say, it's all going to be okay, because it's not. I don't think there is really anything you can say. Nothing you can say will make them feel better, and nothing will bring that person back. But what do you tell someone who has died? What do you say then? I guess I'll get to the point. You're gone. It's a bit weird to say you're gone. I'm sure it will always be strange to think about. But I'm never going to see you again. I used to see you almost every day, it seemed so natural. But it's hard not to expect you to be around. Sometimes I forget you won't be there. It happened on a Thursday night. I didn't find out until the next day. Keenan was the one who called to tell me. I didn't believe him at first. I mean, how could I? I had talked to you just 2 days ago. I had seen you just 2 days ago. How could something like that happen? But he was telling the truth, and I had no clue what to do. I just sat there for a few minutes, not sure what to say, if I could say anything at all. Maybe I should have been crying, maybe I should have been talking about it, maybe I should have done something. But the only reaction I could muster was shock. All I could do was walk around in disbelief. The dictionary describes shock as a sudden or violent disturbance of the mind, emotions, or sensibilities. I find that definition incredibly vague. I wouldn't call it so much a disturbance as more of a pause. It's kind of like confusion, but at the same time a total breakdown, like all the walls crumble down, and all there is behind them is a white room. Everything has fallen behind you, but all you can pay attention to is the blank white walls. For me, it caused a feeling in my chest. It wasn't a hurt. It was like the feeling you get when your hands go numb from the cold, but you can still feel them, but you can also feel the chill overcoming every finger. So it was like the air in my lungs was going numb, but warm instead of cold. I'm sure that sounds ridiculous, but it's the closest way I can think to describe it. It was just a feeling. It was like being stuck somewhere between confusion and home. I felt a bit out of place in my skin all night, but it hadn't really set in yet. I kept busy, I distracted myself. It was when I got in my car that it finally got to me. I don't cry much. I have never really been the type of person that cries much. But in that moment, I couldn't contain myself. I don't think I've cried that hard in my entire life. I couldn't stop. I just cried. I was talking to myself. I was yelling. I was slamming my hands on the steering wheel and swearing. I cried almost nonstop for the rest of the night. It took me a few days to be able to get into my car again without shedding a tear. I still do from time to time, if something sets me off. I think the worst part of the entire experience was remembering how excited you were about the future. You were a freshman in college. You still had your whole life ahead of you. You had so much to look forward to, but you never got the chance. You were going to Europe with your boyfriend in December. Everyone was convinced he was going to propose. I remember one of our last conversations I ever had with you was about how excited you were you didn't get to work to Saturday. It was the first time you'd had a Saturday off in almost 5 months. But you didn't even make it to Friday. Isn't it strange how easily I can write about this now? Perhaps it's just time, but I've gotten to the point where I can even talk about it without getting worked up. It's not that I'm over it. I have just coped with it enough that I don't get upset every time it's mentioned. Maybe that's a little heartless of me. I would like to think that you're in a better place, I really would, but I can't help but feel like something went wrong, like this wasn't part of the plan. Maybe it's just my lack of faith speaking. Some people think that all things happen for a reason. I don't believe that, not anymore at least. It just doesn't seem fair. How could it be? You, an 18-year-old girl, died in a car crash because of black ice. How could that honestly be part of some grand plan? It's not. It's total bullshit. It's not fair. It's not okay. And most of all, it's not right. Death happens, I know. But it should never be like this. The memorial service happened a week after the crash. It was in a little funeral home downtown. I hate parking downtown. I'm sure you did too. You seemed like the type. A lot of people came. If you have seen it, I bet you would have been happy. I felt very out of place. I had never been to a funeral before. When I got there, the lobby was almost full. The side rooms were filled with people, some already crying. Only about half the people that came could actually fit into the chapel. The rest of us stood in the lobby watching from there. A slideshow started, showing pictures of you. That was the point when I started crying. A few people spoke. Prayers were said. Between the words, you could hear the sniffling and the people blowing into tissues. I clung to the necklace I was wearing. My mother gave it to me when I was little, and it always made me feel safe. The strange thing is I didn't really feel that sad. I was just standing there, staring at your face on the screen, the tears gently streaming down my cheeks. It was snowing when I headed home. The crisp air blowing at my skirt, catching the folds. My sweater clung tight around my neck, giving me an odd feeling of security. The snow was beautiful. As the big, wispy flakes fell, I knew it was for you. So yeah, I'm sorry that I had to make something so emotional like this, because I normally don't make videos like this, and it's a very strange thing for me, but I just felt like I needed to, so I hope you're all doing well, and I will see you next week.